Venerable Ghetontie, the Fool for Christ, was born on November 4th, 1934, in the village of Viskri, not far from the town of Rupe, now in Brașov County. At his baptism, he received Saint George the Great Martyr as his patron, to whom he remained deeply devoted throughout his life. He was the second of 3 children of Ioan and Elena Aldea, who made a living by farming the land. From childhood, he led a deeply religious life marked by introspection, fasting and prayer, with his mother serving as his first and lifelong model of faith. Quite early, his religious devotion began to be seen as excessive and increasingly misunderstood, even within his own family. In primary school, he was often caught praying, for which he would be scolded or even punished by his teacher. His different way of behaving and his lack of reaction to the cruelty of those around him became, over the years, a reason for his schoolmates and other children in his native village to mock or humiliate him in various ways. Testimonies from those who knew him during his teenage years speak of his intense spiritual struggles, long hours of prayer, strict fasts, and even several-day fasts, sometimes during periods when he would accompany his family to work in the fields. His religious life was already close to that of hermits, even though he lived in the world. During this time, people around him began to notice, in various situations, the power of his prayers. In those years, he increasingly visited monk Modest Aldea, his father's brother, who was the abbot of Ciolanu Monastery, and later the ecclesiarch of the cathedral in Buzău. For a significant period, he became his disciple in the hermitage, learning many of the mysteries of monastic life from him. Deeply devoted to monastic life, Venerable Ghetontie refused in the autumn of 1959 to leave Ciolanu Monastery, as the communist authorities in Romania demanded of young monks. This marked the beginning of his great sufferings for the faith. He was imprisoned for a time at Jilava Penitentiary, where he continued his ascetic struggles despite intense pressure to abandon monastic life. After several days in a cell under near-extermination conditions, weakened to the limit of his strength, the Mother of God appeared to him, telling him to embrace the foolishness for Christ and promising to help him carry this cross. Shortly afterward, the authorities considered that the sufferings he had endured had irreparably affected his mental balance and decided to commit him to a psychiatric hospital, from which he was later released. From this period onward, Venerable Ghetontie concealed his entire personal ascetic struggle and spiritual work in the world under the guise of foolishness for Christ. He alternated visits to monasteries with stays at home, and later with families who hosted him for various periods. Wherever he went, he encouraged a high religious life, prayer, and asceticism, supporting them primarily through his personal example and through brief, often highly personalized words of teaching. He would pray for hours on his knees, keep vigil through many nights, and observe very strict fasts, including entire days of complete fasting. He spoke of heaven and eternal blessings, recounting some of the moments in which he had seen the Mother of God, or when the adversary, the devil, tried to frighten him and hinder his spiritual ascent. Because he was socially ostracized, he was constantly under the scrutiny of the authorities, who committed him to psychiatric hospitals several more times. He only agreed to speak about the persecutions he endured to glorify God, who had kept him alive and mentally intact despite the treatments he received. Another crucial moment in his life occurred when he boldly warned the communist leader of Romania before 1989 that if he did not believe in God, those around him would shoot him. This led to a new period of suffering for Venerable Ghetontie, from which he was delivered by the Mother of God.